Elena Petrova, 68, a retired forest ranger and volunteer at a wildlife rescue center, trudged through the deep snow of the Siberian forest. The wind carried ice crystals that struck her coat like tiny needles. The thermometer hanging from her backpack read 20 degrees below zero. She stopped. Something broke the white silence. It wasn't the usual cracking of frozen branches. It was deeper, irregular, a gasp. Elena tilted her head. About 30 meters away, beneath a cluster of bare birches, the snow seemed sunken. She moved forward slowly, raising her hands to show they were empty, though she knew that meant nothing to whatever might be there. Then she saw her. An Amur tigress lay on her side, her fur covered in frost. Her breathing was shallow. The vapor rose in weak clouds that the wind blew away. The massive head rested on snow stained with dark blood. A wire snare protruded from her hind leg, tightened against the trunk of a sapling bent by the trap. Elena gasped, "My God!" The tigress barely raised her head, her ears flattened against her skull. A raspy growl vibrated in the freezing air. It wasn't a roar of attack, it was an exhausted warning. The animal's abdomen moved slowly, bulging, tense. She was pregnant. The forest remained still, as if holding its breath. In eastern Siberia, winter does not forgive mistakes. A weakened tigress cannot hunt, and a pregnant female needs twice the energy to survive. Elena stepped back a few paces. She knew that one false move could trigger a desperate attack. She slowly pulled out her radio. "Center, this is Elena. I have an adult female trapped. She appears to be pregnant. She's alive, but in critical condition. I need immediate veterinary support." The wind answered with a long whistle through the trees. The tigress tried to rise. Her muscles, still powerful, trembled. The steel trap tightened and the wire cut deeper into the flesh. The tigress let out a roar that shattered the silence of the forest, a deep sound that faded among the white hills. There was no time to lose. 2 hours later, the team arrived on snowmobiles. The veterinarian, Sergei Volkov, stepped down with a tranquilizer dart rifle. The men's breath mingled with the vapor rising from the feline's muzzle. The tigress was no longer growling. She was watching. Her amber eyes followed every movement. The dilated pupils reflected the gray sky. Sergei aimed. The dart struck her shoulder with a dull thud. The reaction was immediate. The tigress tried to stand, swiped at the air, roared with a strength that seemed impossible in her condition. Snow rose in a white cloud. Then, slowly, her legs gave way. Silence returned, heavy. The team waited. 1 minute, 2. Sergei approached first, carefully touching the animal's flank. He nodded. "She's asleep." Elena stepped forward, kneeling beside the enormous body. Up close, the magnitude of the animal was overwhelming. The whiskers covered in ice, old scars marking the orange and black fur. The trap had torn deep tissue. The paw was swollen. If they didn't free her, infection would be inevitable. With metal tools, they cut the wire. Each turn produced a sharp screech. When the loop finally gave way, the paw was free, though severely injured. Sergei worked quickly. He cleaned the wound, applied antibiotics, and sutured what was necessary. Then they placed a tracking collar on her. Elena laid her gloved hand on the animal's back. "Hold on," she murmured, almost voiceless. It wasn't an order, it was a plea. They transported her in a reinforced cage to the nearest rehabilitation center, several hours away. For days, the tigress remained under constant surveillance. There were no names, no domestication, only distance and respect. When she awoke from the anesthesia, she let out a roar that made the metal walls vibrate. She struck the cage once, twice. Her fangs clashed against the steel, but weakness forced her to lie down. The team minimized contact. They left fresh meat at a distance. They observed through remote cameras. The tigress ate little at first, but she ate. Her abdomen continued to grow. One night, weeks later, the cameras captured a change. The tigress was walking more. She limped, but she put weight on the injured paw. Her breathing was deeper. Then the storm arrived. The wind lashed against the roof of the enclosure. Snow battered the windows. Inside, the tigress began to move restlessly. She lay on her side. She stood up, lay down again. Her body tensed. Hours later, under the dim light of the infrared cameras, the first cub appeared. Small, covered in membrane, moving weakly. The tigress, still exhausted, pulled it closer with her muzzle. She licked it with firm, repeated movements, cleaning it. The cub let out a sharp cry, then another, and another. 3 cubs in total. The tigress arranged them against her belly. Even weakened, her body curved into a protective wall. Every outside sound made her lift her head, ears alert. There was no trace of submission, only instinct, only protection. 2 months passed. The cubs grew with surprising speed. Clumsy at first, they began to wobble around the enclosure. They pushed each other, rolled in the snow, nibbled at their mother's tail. The tigress now firmly placed weight on her injured paw. The scar was visible, but functional. Elena watched from behind the reinforced glass. She did not smile broadly. She simply nodded, in silence. The time had come. The release was planned with precision. A remote area, far from human settlements, abundant prey, dense forest cover. The transport was silent. When they opened the cage door, the spring forest breathed green and damp. The snow was beginning to melt. The dark ground reappeared. For long seconds, nothing happened. Then the tigress emerged. Her muscles tensed as she felt free earth beneath her paws. She sniffed the air. She listened. One by one, the cubs followed her, stumbling among the roots. The tigress moved forward a few meters. She stopped, turned her head, not toward Alina, toward the forest. A deer passed in the distance, barely a silhouette among the trees. The tigress descended the slope, silent, almost invisible among the shadows. The cubs imitated her. In a few seconds, only fresh tracks remained in the mud. And then, not even that. In the vastness of Siberia, wildlife survives on a fragile balance. Invisible traps can shatter it in an instant. But sometimes, a human intervention does not destroy that balance, it restores it. Elena remained standing long after the forest regained its silence. The wind stirred the new leaves. Somewhere, out of sight, a tigress was teaching her cubs to hunt, to hide, to survive. There was no visible gratitude, no farewells, only the continuity of life. And within that continuity, the silent trace of a human decision that changed the fate of 4 wild creatures. The camera rises. The forest covers everything.